I'm going to ask Giovanni the first question. And what is your impression of these AI based tools? I keep hearing people go, oh my God, AI is coming for my job. I'm not going to have a job anymore. Do you think they're here to replace us?
Now that is definitely a good question. Honestly, so it's so funny. I actually thought about this 5 years ago. I posted on my Facebook. I was following this guy, had got deep into the AI rabbit hole, right? This guy Sam Harris. I love to follow him. He talks a lot about AI. And just the rabbit hole he took me down and all the scenarios and all the technologies that have been revealed, it was like, oh my God. I'm not worried about nukes. I'm not worried about Syria. I'm worried about AI. Right? That's what I'm saying. And I also follow Mark Cuban. And so one thing I realized is a lot of these tools have been being used in the background. We just were never aware of them. Because I remember, because I had just got my degree in software development, and Mark Cuban came on, hey, in 3 years, coders are going to be useless because they can write the code for you. I'm like, what? Oh, I'm like, I just got my degree, right? So I was definitely afraid early on. Again, I had no exposure to the actual tools. These were things behind the scenes, only top level executives would get them. And once I finally able was to sit down and actually see one in front of my face, because you know everything, you get afraid and then squirrel and you're watching something on YouTube or whatever, right? And so I was able to finally get ChatGPT when it first came out. So I was very excited about that. And I was like, okay, let's try this out. I was very impressed initially. And then I was asking a lot of coding questions, right? 'Cause I love coding. And I was like, you know what? This is okay, but this is definitely not correct. And it's confident even when it's wrong. It's gonna say yes. It don't have emotions, right? So it can be confident without fear of repercussions. So that's the biggest thing about it. But it's definitely a great assistant. That's one thing I can say. It's gonna increase productivity for everyone. And I think a lot of times people think that now, oh, it's gonna need less workers, but that's for a smaller pie. But now the pie will get bigger because now we can do more things. There's too many problems out there to be solved for us to start shrinking workforces. So that's one thing I can say is AI is definitely going to be a great assistant, but I don't think at this point that it's ready to replace us.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. As I look at this whole AI revolution that's been happening, everybody thinks it's new, but AI has really been used pretty widely since about 2012, 2013, 2014. The big difference is nobody saw it because it was all behind the scenes. When you go to Google and you search, it's using AI and machine learning and deep learning and all that kind of stuff. There's Google image searches, there's Google Translate, and all that stuff was using this AI technology. And even Siri and Alexa and all those things in your phone are doing. And then ChatGPT came out back in, I think it was November, and they went from a million users to 10 million to 100 million within 4 weeks. It was like faster than TikTok's growth, which I already thought was amazingly long. And so that was one of the things that I think was impressive as people started using it. And the big thing I see with these tools, and I really do ChatGPT, I use it a lot in our company right now. We've
Yeah.
got tools to help us check our practice exams and write practice exam questions and help us with drafting our first drafts of scripts and all that kind of stuff. But none of it is something that I would say, okay, write me a script on this topic and let me just read that and then call it good. I don't think it's there yet. And I don't think that is the use case for it, because if you do that, you lose all the personality and the specialness that makes an instructor or a person developing that content. So I agree with you. I think it's an assistant tool. And probably the first place that we used it in our company is our development team. So our developers who work on our LMS, which is our learning management system, our exam application database, all of our automations and coding, they have been using a program called Copilot by GitHub for about the last year and a half. And that is actually fed by ChatGPT. It's the same data source as ChatGPT, which is,
GPT. Yep.
and so you can actually ask coding questions in ChatGPT now. But in the old days, when that first came out was Copilot, it was awesome because you'd start typing in your code and you get like the first 3 or 4 letters and it was like autocomplete. But it wasn't even just like a word, it was autocompleting like blocks of code for you. So if you're like, hey, on click, do this, and it's, oh, I recommend these things. And you could just say those things. And so it made the process of coding a lot faster and easier. But like you said, it wasn't the most efficient way to code. It wasn't the best way to code, but it was a good assistant to get you started. And then you can revise it and really optimize and refactor your code. And I see the same thing with ChatGPT is a lot of people are trying to use it as basically a homework replacement or a work replacement tool. And that's not what it was for, right? The whole thing is it's not a Google search. It's not a refactoring of information. It is a way to summarize information. It does really good at that. And it can create a lot of unique things and new things for you based on what it sees out in the world. But again, take it with a grain of salt because sometimes it's not 100% accurate.